I used to believe that silence was peace. That's what drew me to the countryside. A longing for quiet, for stillness, for a life far from the noise that chewed at my nerves like rats in the walls. I bought a modest farmhouse tucked deep into the hills of Vermont, a relic of an older time. It stood crooked on its foundation, with a widow's peak that glared over empty fields and woods too dense for sunlight. The real estate agent said the house had character. I should have taken the way she hesitated, before handing over the keys as a warning. But I was tired. Tired of the city, of its lights that never dimmed, of sirens slicing the night like razors. Tired of my ex, who had taken everything but my name. Tired of the therapist who nodded like a metronome while I spoke about nothing. So I moved, alone. And for a while, the silence was everything I hoped, until I saw her eyes. It started on the third night. I woke up gasping, convinced someone had whispered my name, the kind of whisper that hovers inside your ear, warm and breathless. But I was alone. The windows were shut, the front door locked. I turned on every light in the house, pacing barefoot across the creaking wood floors, trying to shake the chill that had settled in my spine. Eventually, I chalked it up to dreams and wine. I hadn't been sleeping well. That first week, everything echoed too much. Even the sound of my own breath felt like an intruder. On the 7th day, I found the portrait. It wasn't there when I moved in. I was certain of that. It hung crookedly in the upstairs hallway, just outside the guest bedroom. A child's drawing, framed in old wood with glass smeared by tiny fingerprints. A girl stood in front of the house. This house, drawn in coloured pencil. Her body was disproportionately long, her arms dangling like wet cloth. No face, just two huge empty circles where her eyes should have been. But they weren't empty. Not really. They were quiet. That's the only way I can describe it. Quiet. Not in sound, but in presence. The way a forest goes silent just before a predator steps out. I asked the agent about it. She claimed no prior knowledge. Said the previous owner died in a nursing home, no family left. She offered to send someone to remove it, but I told her not to bother. I should have had it burned. Nights grew heavier. I began hearing things. Not voices, nothing so cliché, just sounds that didn't belong. The clack of fingernails on glass, footsteps where there were no feet, breathing that wasn't mine, timed perfectly with the pauses in my own. Every morning I'd wake up convinced someone had been watching me, and always, that portrait was there. I tried removing it. I took it down, hid it in the attic. The next morning it was back on the wall, exactly where it had been. Exactly the same. The girl's eyes were still quiet, and now they watched me. I began dreaming about her. In the dreams, I was a child again. The house was mine, but not as it is now, clean and mostly intact. It was rotting, wet with mold, the floorboards spongy beneath my feet. She would stand at the end of the hallway, not moving, not blinking, just watching me with those quiet, monstrous eyes. I tried talking to her once in the dream. I asked her name. She didn't answer. She opened her mouth, but no words came. Only a wet, gurgling hush that filled the air like drowning. The walls began to bleed. Her arms grew longer, joints popping as her fingers brushed the floor. Her eyes swallowed the light. I woke up screaming. I saw her in daylight next. It was raining. I was at the kitchen window, making tea, when I saw something move in the reflection. Not outside, inside. I turned. She stood at the foot of the stairs. The girl, the one from the portrait, pale, soaked, hair hanging like seaweed across her face. Her mouth was sewn shut. Her eyes were open, wider than should be possible, black and bottomless. She stared. I didn't move. Couldn't. Not even to breathe. Blinked. She was gone, but the floor where she'd stood was wet. I left the house that night, drove into town, booked a room at the inn. Didn't explain why. The old woman behind the desk didn't ask, just handed me a key with a number etched into it. Room 3. I barely slept. The quiet followed me there. The kind that doesn't comfort but swallows. The kind that lives behind walls and inside your own bones. When I returned home the next morning, I found the guest bedroom door open. It had been locked since I moved in. Inside, the room was untouched, but on the bed was another drawing. Same girl. This time, her mouth was gone, her eyes were even larger, and beside her was a stick figure labelled with my name. The figure had no eyes at all. I called a priest. He was local, in his 70s, and hesitant from the moment he stepped inside. I expected him to wave a cross or sprinkle holy water. Instead, he wandered the halls, fingers trembling. "She's still here," he said softly. "She never left." "Who?" I asked. He looked at the portrait. They called her Edith. That was all he said. I tried to press him for more, but he excused himself before I could. Later that night, I researched the house. There was no Edith. Listed in any census, no deaths on the property, no missing children. But I did find an old newspaper article from 1987. Body of unidentified girl found in hills near Old Farmstead. No photo, no follow-up. Just one line that haunted me. No. Signs of trauma, no cause of death determined, eyes wide open, as if she died staring into something unspeakable. I started locking every door. It didn't matter. She moved through the walls. I'd find water pooling in corners, child-sized handprints on foggy mirrors, whispers that stopped when I turned around. My phone recorded static during the night. Always, at 3:12 a.m., and always, in the middle of the static, a voice whispering one word: stay. I tried destroying the portrait. Burning didn't work. It wouldn't catch flame. The fire turned blue and cold when I held the frame over it. I tore it apart, only to find it intact on the wall the next morning. The drawing had changed again. This time, the house behind the girl was in flames, and my name was scrawled across the bottom in a child's handwriting. Under it, "You promised." I don't remember making a promise, but I started remembering other things. Dreams, maybe. Memories, maybe not. A girl in the woods. Me, younger, following her. She leads me somewhere dark, tells me to close my eyes, tells me to listen, tells me, if you take it, you have to keep it. What did I take? I can't remember. Or maybe I don't want to. 2 days ago, the mirror in the hallway shattered from the inside. The fragments fell inward, not out. Last night, I heard her voice clearly for the first time. Not a whisper, not a breath, a word from the foot of my bed. Mine. I didn't sleep. At dawn, I found the final drawing, taped to my bedroom wall. It showed the girl, but this time, she had my eyes. And the stick figure beside her had none at all. Underneath, one word: quiet. I haven't spoken since. I don't think I can anymore. My voice feels sealed away, as if stitched shut from within. The silence has settled deep into me now. Not peace, possession. When I look in the mirror, I see her behind my eyes, watching, waiting. The quiet in her eyes is now in mine, and soon it will be in yours too.